We're going to talk about 1 Samuel chapter 23. And in this chapter, King Saul, is still pursuing David and his men. David is running for his life. His life is seriously in danger. And I want to pick up the story from chapter 23, verse 15. 1 Samuel chapter 23, verse 15. David saw that Saul had come out to seek his life. David was in the wilderness of Ziph at Horesh. Verse 16. And Jonathan, Saul's son, rose and went to David at Horesh and strengthened his hand in God. And he said to him, do not fear, for the hand of Saul my father shall not find you. You shall be king over Israel, and I shall be next to you. Saul my father also knows this. And the two of them made a covenant before the Lord, before Yahweh. David remained at Horesh, and Jonathan went home. So I want to say something about this. It's an incredible and beautiful passage. And there's previous chapters, places where Jonathan, the son of Saul, actually risks his life. There's an extraordinary portion when King Saul sees that Jonathan is loyal to David, loves David, helps David, and Saul actually takes a spear and flings it at his very own son, and he says, like, the throne is going to be for you. Well, why are you helping David? And what Jonathan sees, Jonathan deeply loves David. Jonathan admires David. Jonathan sees God's hand on David, and he can see the will of God that God is picking David to be king over Israel. And it's just an extraordinary thing, because here he is. He's the crown prince. So that any normal, worldly, fleshly kind of like succession, he's the one who should receive the throne. And so what we have is his father is Saul right now. He's the king, and Saul is supposed to be godly, supposed to seek the will of God. And instead of, now that he's jealous and insecure about David, he's trying to murder David. But you would think that the son of the king, wouldn't he? Why shouldn't he be aligned to his father? And then it's his own personal self-interest at stake. He should want to get rid of this guy too, but instead he loves the Lord so much. His honor, his integrity is so great, and he could see he's so aligned to God that he would risk his life, and even have this very difficult situation where he doesn't want to rebel against his father. He tries to stay loyal to his father, and yet he refuses to let David be murdered by his own father, the king. And so here's this extraordinary story, and I want to just draw a couple of really, really important lessons out of this. Number one, we live in a time where it's just when you live in a time where where God is not more and more God and his rules and his law and genuine righteousness, justice is not in our land, it's really even just hard to know what is right and what is wrong. And then what begins to happen is just whoever you're loyal to. And oftentimes in our time and day, people are just loyal to whoever gives them some kind of special self-interest. But here is a man, if you look in the Bible, who's David's best friend? It's Jonathan. And his best friend is a man who, if his self-interest at stake, should want to get rid of him. And instead, Jonathan loves the Lord so deeply and loves him so deeply and loves him in the Lord, and will sacrifice his own self-interest and even endanger his own life for the well-being of David. What I want to ask you today is, do you have friends like that? Do you have a Jonathan in your life? That's the first thing I want to ask of you. Especially in this time and place we live, Silicon Valley, it's a really lonely city. It's a place where it's extremely stressful to live here. It's highly expensive, and people are always like looking for advance their career, advance their money, advance their self-interest. And yet, what we regularly see is we have friends, and when when their self-interest collides with the friendship, what we see is we regularly expect in a city that the friendship will kind of go by the wayside, and we'll see that friend wasn't much of a friend, was we? Were we? And we expect this of other people in our city and of our times, in our very godless and much more very selfish and self-interest oriented times in our culture. And what I want to ask you is, do you have a friend like Jonathan? And if you don't have a friend like Jonathan, that's a really, really sad and painful thing. And if you do have a friend like Jonathan, you're not even sure if you do. But the first thing I want to say is, if you have even one friend like Jonathan, you have something so tremendously precious in your life. And he or she, because the Jonathan in your life might be a woman, the person who's like Jonathan in your life is a sign that God is with you, that God is blessing you, that God is encouraging you. That, how do you know it? If you have a Jonathan in your life, they will sacrificially put their neck on the line. And then it says this, that Jonathan strengthened his hand in God. Someone who will strengthen your hand, strengthen your life, strengthen your decisions, strengthen, like when you're feeling low, when you're feeling lonely, when you feel down, when you feel like maybe even just life is about to flicker out. We all need Jonathans. And so if you have that Jonathan, love that Jonathan. Man or woman, honor that Jonathan and never betray that Jonathan. And I want to urge you, would you consider being a Jonathan? We all need deep friendships. We need this kind of deep love. And so would you put a character and a conviction, Lord, help me to become like a Jonathan, and have someone in my life who's like a David, and I will strengthen their hand in God. That's the first thing I want to say. But I want to say a second thing. And this, I hope, will help you to see and understand something that's truly deep in the Bible. There's someone else in the Bible who is essentially like the crown prince. He is supposed to take the throne, and he's intended to be the king. And yet he chooses to give up his power, give up his honor, to give up his self-interest, and he sacrificially chooses to be your friend, who will say, your life is in danger, your life is in trouble, and I will come out and I will put all my name and I will put myself into danger so that, I will remove the crown from my head so that you can receive a crown on your head. Even though you're about to be condemned, and in this case, maybe even murder, or your life is lost, I will put myself in that place and put myself in danger for you, so that you can be exalted, you can be protected, riches can come upon you, honor can come upon you, and you can receive a royalty that you do not even deserve. Is there anyone else in the Bible like that? And of course there is. That is Jesus. So here we have this passage in the Bible. It never mentions Jesus. It doesn't talk about the Messiah. And what we have is a story of David on the run for his life from a wicked and oppressive king. And yet God places in David's life someone who is a friend that's unbelievable. And you know what? If you're not sure if you have a Jonathan in your life, actually you do. You do have a Jonathan in your life. If you have no earthly friend or a man or woman that you think is a Jonathan for me, actually, you have better than an earthly friend. You have the King of Kings, the Son of God, the one who is truly the Almighty One, who came down and laid aside his power and his privileges and not only just put himself in danger, he suffered what we deserved. He died what we deserved to die, so that we can receive his crown. We could receive his righteousness. We could receive a robe of honor that is really only his. He is one greater than Jonathan. So the ultimate Jonathan is Jesus. You do have a better Jonathan in your life. That is Jesus. Would you turn to him? Would you honor him? Never be disloyal to him. Love him, and know that, of course, if the greater Jonathan is in your life, God is ultimately in your life. This is how to read. This is what's the deeper truth of your life, but this is also how to read the Bible. Look for this kind of deep needs in our life, especially at times of great loss and danger and of fear. When you're at this time of loss and danger and fear, there is the greater Jonathan in your life, and that is Jesus.